Happy Friday, everyone. Week 7 already. Crazy. Ben Cary is running it back here with me. We were on last week. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I guess my tanking conspiracy theory for the Broncos was good enough of a sell job that you brought me back on.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about it. First, I want to talk about last week. I went on to your show, and we made a parlay that nearly fucking hit. I am so upset.
I was telling, so we had Connor Allen on a 4 for 4 yesterday before the game. And I was telling him we did a parlay. It didn't hit, but we had like Jamal Williams to score a touchdown, which the Saints get in the red zone and they just poop their pants. They're like, oh yeah, well, let's hand it off to Kamara 3 times in a row. I don't know what they're doing there, but anyways, the one we made, it was really close. And the funniest thing about it is we put in the leg that you liked more, but I got greedy and I was like, you know what, Herbert can get another 10 yards rushing, and
he was only 5 yards short. So the parlay was Michael Gallup 3 receptions, which he burned me everywhere that I had the 3.5. And then it was Herbert over 25 rushing yards. He ended on 20. And then what was the last leg? It was the under?
Yeah, I think we had the under, and that's what boosted the odds pretty good in our favor. But, I mean, I thought it was a pretty good look because Gallup had like 6 targets in the first half, and he only had, I think, 1 catch. Like, I'm sure you're ripping your hair out. Like,
he was,
they were trying to get him the ball, but
like 10 targets. Like, there was no reason for him to not come down. I just needed one more, and it would have been probably one of my most profitable nights as a gambler. Very, very frustrating.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, maybe we have to run it back that way. I don't know. That was fun though.
It was a good time. Any thoughts about last night's game? Because Derek Carr, I think we only have a little bit of a conversation. I tweeted out. I think that Derek Carr is who people think Kirk Cousins is.
I saw that. That was pretty good. When I read it, I'm like, and I'm like, wow, that made a lot of sense. My thoughts with that game, first and foremost, like I haven't seen him that emotional, at least in that way, like more on like the angry side.
Yeah.
I think in his whole career. So that was a little surprising. The more I look into that Olave play where he threw it out of bounds and was mad, I think he wanted him to run another route. But at the same time, like I think there's like a different way to go about that. And by the looks of like Kamara on the sideline a few times, it was almost like, yeah, I'm not listening to this old dude. Like, I mean, Kamara's probably not that much younger than him, but you get what I'm saying. It was a weird game. They almost came back, and I really feel bad for Foster Moreau dropping that pass because he's been through a lot.
Yeah.
But man, you got to catch that. I mean, as much as Derek Carr, like, we clown on, he's just like a boom or bust guy. Like he'll come out, make those bad throws, just go to his check down way too early. And then fourth quarter, he looked pretty good, but it was just a little short. And the Jags are a sneaky 5-2.
I know. Is it a true 5-2, you think, though?
Probably not, but
I don't know about that.
But you know what though? You get into the playoffs, you get hot. Anything can happen, but it is tough if you're they really have to fight for home field because you don't want to go through Arrowhead. You don't want to go through, I guess, Buffalo, even though their record is a little suspect right now. But who knows? I mean, I'm not going to count them out, but at the same time, it's like on paper, it's like it comes down to Trevor Lawrence. I'm still like, I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't think we can put him in the top 5 like elite level yet. And I think that's going to be make or break for the Jags to do anything in the playoffs.
Yeah, we saw them last year get hot towards the end. And I think it's interesting. I've said this on a couple shows this week where we really don't know where a lot of these mid-tier teams, like who are they? What is their identity and how good actually are they? And I think it's still going to take a couple weeks to figure out who exactly they are.
Yeah, and the quarterback play across the league has been pretty shitty. So when you have like you have these teams that on paper, they have defenses, they have all the talent. And, if you have a quarterback who isn't consistent, you just have so many question marks. Like, I hate to say it, but even like the Eagles, the way Hurts has been playing, you're kind of like, man, we're waiting for Hurts just to be the Hurts of last year. So Eagles are in like a weird bucket too. And then the Chiefs, I mean, I guess are the team from the AFC that you have faith in. And then you want to put the Niners up there, but then it's like, oh shit, Brock Purdy. It's like, all right, do we got 2 hours? Because we got to talk about Purdy for another 2 hours. That's a
Right.
whole discussion there. So it's a weird season so far. But I'll say this: I think these types of seasons, like the futures market, you can find some pretty good value because there's going to be a team that makes either the AFC or NFC championship game that we're not even talking about. Maybe it is a Jags type team, but we're gonna have a team like that where we're like, oh shit, the Browns. It's the Browns and Chiefs, or
Right.
Browns and Dolphins, or I don't. What about in the NFC? Like, who's a team that maybe we're not even talking about that?
There's a
Like
lot.
a Seahawks, like.
Maybe. I mean, I'm interested to see like what they do this weekend against the Cardinals. Although I think there might be a little bit about the Cardinals where how are you guys just blowing every second half? Like at this point, it almost feels like you're doing it on purpose. So the NFC isn't great. Like, is there a world where like, the Vikings could get hot maybe?
Oh,
like I don't know. I don't know.
There could be though, because that division, I mean, I guess the Lions should win that division.
Yeah.
But you sneak in as a wild card team, I think the history is like every season that we've had the traditional wild card, I think one of those teams has made at least maybe I'm making this up. It's something to do with like
Sounds right.
yeah, the wild card teams, like you always want to count them out, and then they win a game on the road, and all of a sudden you're like, oh
Yeah.
shit, this team is actually
Oh yeah.
better.
I mean,
than
as a New
we
York
thought.
Giants fan, I know that anything is possible, really. Like you just got to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's funny too, like with the NFL right now, like you get on Twitter, X, whatever, and it's almost like half of the conversation is about Caleb Williams, and then now Drake May a little bit, and
Yeah.
it's like, guys, let's not turn into the NBA here because the NBA has those issues sometimes where it's like summer and people are already talking about like LeBron, like, and we're like, guys,
Yeah.
we like the Nuggets are still like playing. Like, let's talk about the NBA Finals. I've noticed that this year that some teams and some fan bases are already just like trying to just push let's just talk about Caleb Williams, and I guess I'm
Yeah.
doing it now on your show. So oops.
No,
Maybe I'm
yeah.
part of the problem.
I mean, we're going to talk about it for a second here too. But I think part of it is, there's this generational talent, the word that everyone loves to say. And there's a lot of really shitty teams this year. Like there's a big gap between like, I think we know who the bad teams are. I think some of these mid-tier could cross into that bad tier. So Caleb Williams wants part ownership of the team that he goes to. Feelings, thoughts about that situation?
So the first thing is like, wow, that's a big ask. Like you're coming in from college, which now maybe it's a glorified like semi-pro type of environment. But you know what? If you're gonna hype up, not you particularly, but if we're all gonna hype up Caleb Williams and say these things, and like this has been going on for 2 years. Like I remember 2021, people were talking about this guy in this light. So it's been going on. So if we're gonna be talking about him for this long, then I don't blame him for like becoming like the product of his environment. But at the same time, like I don't really know what he's going to do, because if he is in a situation where he is, of course, probably going to go number one unless something crazy happens. And then let's say it's a team like the Cardinals. Like, is he going to be in a position where he says, I'm going to go back another year, or I need like X percentage of the well, I guess you could say company,
Same thing.
organization. Yeah, he's like negotiating in this light. And I gotta ask my dad this, because he's an OG football fan. I think something similar happened with like either Elway or even it might have been Eli or something like that.
It was Eli for sure. And
yeah,
then one other. Eli did, because Eli was supposed to go to the Chargers. And
yeah. So it's not unprecedented, but at the same time, I think he just has to be careful the way he goes about it, because people are just gonna think of it as like, is this guy serious about like becoming potentially one of the best or one of the better quarterbacks that we've seen, or is he just so focused on, hey, I want the money and things like that? I deep down think he is focused on, like, I think he could be that type of guy, and I think that a lot of this is going to take away from that, but you just have to be careful about the way you go about it. What are your thoughts on it?
It's interesting. The comments that came out, which I don't think he's actually addressed that he wants part ownership. And I think it's a bold ask for someone that hasn't played a single NFL snap. I think, Aaron Rodgers allegedly had asked for some Jets ownership, and that got turned down pretty quickly. I find it hard to believe that any franchise would bring on someone that's never taken a snap. Maybe it's something you talk about with the second contract, but that makes me feel like there is a bigger chance for him to go back and play another year, especially if, I don't know, that's just a really big ask.
Yeah, and the NIL makes it really difficult.
It does.
We see these like tweets come out where it's like, well, here's what the quarterbacks are making in the NFL, and here's what he could make, and it's a little misleading because they're looking at base salary, and it's not
Right.
apples to oranges. So like, if you guys see those, don't like retweet them and be like, oh hey, like share with your family, because then you're just as bad as like your family members on Facebook who share the fake news. But I could see like a team like the Broncos, if like let's say they end up becoming the number one pick and they have the worst record, like the Walter Penner group, they would do something like that, but the contract or like the agreement would have to be structured where it's like you have to be with us for like 5 years and like maybe we'll give you a percentage. It's not just going to be like, hey, here's 1% of the team and then and then it's like, well, does he even have to play? Like there would be stipulations. I wouldn't put it past a team like the Broncos to be creative like that, but at the same time, it's just something that it's really difficult. I don't know. Well, a lot's going to play out.
In the chat too, saying Armand is saying like the NFL is a rule. I don't know the laws in this. Like, if you want to ask me an injury question, I might be able to pull something out of my head for you. But I didn't go to law school, so I went to med school. I can't help you with this, but against players having a % ownership while playing, I think a lot of this would come from whenever they're out of the league. So I think it's just an extra level of security at some point. But it's an interesting conversation. These NI deals are no joke. What about Sanders at Colorado? Do you think that he goes back next year?
I think he will go back. And I have some pretty good sources who, I mean, they literally have Deion sell, like they talk to him throughout the week. And this is kind of how I think it's going to play out. So the Buffs this year, they're not going to compete for national championship or anything like that. But I think getting all the recruits in next season and getting, an offensive line, which they really lack, they will get those guys in. And I think Sanders will stay at least one more season, Shedeur, and then that will be kind of the year. And then that will kind of bring us into like where Caleb Williams is this season, kind of like that's where we'll be. And he could stay even another year after that. But I just think at that point, like, if Shedeur continues his success, like he'll be a top 10 pick too as well. So I think he'll stay.
Yeah, I think it almost benefits him too as far as draft capital goes to maybe wait another year as well. Switching gears back to the NFL, you mentioned the Eagles a little bit earlier. Dolphins are going on the road to play the Eagles. This is a pretty big matchup here. I'm seeing it right now. Eagles are 2.5-point favorites at home. This total is sitting at 51.5. I think that's moved a little bit. Do you have any leans on this game? Because I don't know exactly how I feel. My gut tells me the Eagles pull this out, but I don't know if the Eagles, like we said, that have been as dominant as we were expecting. And there's a lot of factors that play into that. But where are you at with this game?
Yeah, I'm excited as a fan for this one. I think it's going to be a fun one. So I have a futures ticket on the Dolphins, I think at 20-1 to win the Super Bowl.
Nice.
And I'm feeling really good about that because I think it's down close to maybe 9-1. But, in this game particularly, I just think that the Eagles are in a decent spot. It's a home game. It's a Sunday night game. But the Dolphins, the Dolphins offense is just never out of a game. I think for Sirianni, this could be a game where they really need to control the clock and keep the ball out of the hands of Tua and that offense. So I wouldn't be surprised if we just see a lot of third down conversions. We'll see. At this point, they need to come up with like a prop. Like how many tush pushes will we see in the game? Where do we set the line at 3.5?
Piece prop. Like at this point, with the flags have been flying, I want people to bet over X amount of flags.
At this rate, every first down, like especially if it's either a prop of a player that I have an over in or like on my fantasy team, I don't even like get happy because I wait like 3 seconds and just wait for the
Yeah, you can't.
flag thing to pop up on my screen. That's a really good point. But I think the tush push, what do we set that line at? Like 3.5, maybe 4.5?
Yeah, it's gotta be. And I think at this
Gosh.
point, just because of this, like the way that they've made this so theatrical and brotherly, whatever they keep naming it, something different, and the way that a lot of teams have tried and failed, that like they probably end up getting rid of it next year because it's been so dramatic.
Yeah, and then I hear rumors about like the players are faking injuries because they want to make a case like during the summer. They're like, well, look at all these players who got hurt on defense, you know. But the thing with that is, I think eventually teams will find ways to stop it. But then what the Eagles would do is they'll run like a fake tush push, and then teams can't get it as
There's
aggressive.
gonna be
So
ways around it at some point. It's just improvising from there.
yeah, I don't think we should get rid of it, but it does suck though. Like if you're watching the games and you're like, oh, well, it's 4th and short. Like what, you should just give them the first down at this rate because Hurts is squatting like 500 plus pounds.
Right.
It's okay. Here's a random question, Stephie. What about this? What if a team, I'm not the Eagles, another team, what if they come up with like a formation where they get one of their like defensive linemen, similarly how they put like a blocker in on the tush push, and they just put him behind center and they practice this so he's used to it. So you have like a 320-pound guy taking the snap, and then whoever else is behind him to push.
Then it's definitely getting outrolled.
Tell me who's stopping that? I don't even care if everyone in the stadium and the whole world knows they're running it. I don't think anyone's stopping.
No, but then at that point, it does get outrolled.
Yeah, and then at that point,
that happens. Once we start adding too many creative pieces, end up getting outrolled.
As soon as like Jalen Carter gets a snapper, they're like, okay, guys, we're done.
Enough is enough for sure. What about this total here? It's 51.5 for this game. I feel like the public is probably going to be very heavy on this over. Would be my expectation.
I'm going to lean with the under because I do think that the Eagles on offense will just drain the clock and the second half is going to fly by. But the Dolphins at this point, like the Dolphins are like time of possession, whatever, because they'll score so quickly. But I'll lean with the under and then I'll lean Dolphins, but I'm not going to have anything on the side or total. I'll try to find some props in this one. I haven't looked too deep into the prop market as far as this game goes, but I'll try to find something because guys like Waddle, I still think their numbers are kind of short. I'm trying to think offensively for the running back room. Achane is still out, right?
Achane, I think he's out. It seems like till week 11 is going to be which again, it's the smart move, and you're going to see that happen the closer we get towards playoffs, where players maybe could come back a little bit earlier. They're just going to be like, nope, we'll see you when we need to see you.
Or it's like Sean Payton, who's like, oh yeah, Javonte Williams, if this were the playoffs, he would have played. And I'm like, yeah, thanks, Sean. Yeah, we're so far removed from the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
What about Jeff Wilson though? Is he going to get some time?
He should. I mean, I think anything is possible. And the thing with McDaniel, and I think it makes it a little bit more difficult to handicap the Miami Dolphins, is just he will throw anything at you. Like he's so creative, and he goes back, and if a play doesn't work, he just kind of tosses it out. And then he's more than willing. Like I can't believe Braxton Berrios is even like somewhat involved in their playbook, because he's finding ways to get these guys involved throughout the entire game. It's so
and he'll run a play over and over until you stop it. Like I've seen some clips where it's like it's not even like a different formation. It's literally like, no, we're gonna run the same play out of the same set, and then until you stop it, maybe we'll change up the look. But why not?
Yeah, 100%. Before I ask you about this Green Bay Denver game, do you think, like gut feeling, what players actually move before the trade deadline as far as the Broncos go? Because that's a hot question right now. It's a loaded question too, but this rumor that it's a fire sale seems a little dramatic to me. So where are you at?
Yeah, fire sales are really rare in the NFL, just the way contracts are structured, and just organizations typically don't want to like it's not like the MLB where it's like, hey, this is where we're at, like before trade deadline, and then it's like, okay, next season. NFL's always just been different.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure why. Maybe it's just because the ownership groups are still like so focused on how they can make money, and if you come out and put up the flag and say like, hey, we're tanking, I think they're
Right.
worried that no one's going to show up to the games. For the Broncos, though, I think everyone is starting to get on board with the whole tanking thing. So it's almost like we've accepted it. Jerry Jeudy is one guy I think will be gone, but now I'm getting a little worried that the market for him isn't as good as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Uh, Especially after those comments with Steve Smith. And I was telling actually my mom about this. She's like, why would he do that to Steve Smith and all this stuff? And my mom, she remembers Steve Smith too. And I was telling her, I was like, I think Steve Smith is onto something, and I feel like Jeudy shouldn't have done that because Steve Smith has connections with a lot of guys still in the
Yeah.
league, whether it's like wide receiving coaches, whether it's head coaches. So I think that's gonna kind of trickle down and rub organizations the wrong way, because anytime you put down someone that you respect a lot, now it's like, well, why would we bring Jeudy into our
Right.
team when we respect the shit out of Steve Smith? So I'm getting a little worried about that, but Judy's probably the guy they're pushing for the most. Uh, Justin Simmons, I wouldn't be shocked if he moves too, which I would really hate. I've met the guy. He went to my same church. Super cool dude, but I also want to see him win. He
Yeah.
deserves it. So he came in right after the Broncos won their first Super Bowl, and he hasn't made the playoffs once. As crazy as that sounds, I don't want him to turn into like one of those players where we're like, wow, he had such a great career. He's Hall of Fame caliber, but he
Yeah.
like never made the playoffs. So he could be gone too. Sutton maybe, but I think Jeudy has to be like the guy they're shopping around the most.
Yeah, and I think it'd be surprising if there's no moves that occur. It feels like it's trending towards the Broncos very much going in the decline, if you can even really say that from last year. The decline direction.
What's lower than the low? And it's like, well, we've found a new level.
Peyton's like, hold my beer. I got you guys, no problem.
At this point, like the joke with Broncos fans that we all talk about is like, we literally sold our souls for Super Bowl 50.
Yeah.
But it was still worth it though.
Here's a game that I think you guys have somewhat of a chance. Green Bay is coming to Denver. I think last time I looked, I mean, this line keeps jumping around. It's like Denver's either 2-point underdogs, maybe 1.5. Totals 45. What's your read on this game? Because the Packers, the last time we saw the Packers, it wasn't the most impressive thing we've ever seen.
I actually expect Jordan Love to have somewhat of a bounce back performance. Okay. Quarterbacks have been playing well against the Broncos. I mean, we had Sam Howell come into Denver. Yeah. That was the game I thought Broncos would dominate, and they did in the first half. I think they were up 21-7 at one point. But if he can have success, I don't see why Jordan Love can't have success. They have enough pass catchers where, he can rely on. And I think Aaron Jones is coming back too. That's going to be big.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of lean with the Packers. Even like tanking aside, I think the number would be decent for the Packers. I think it's just a motivated group of young talent that they want to come into Denver and win this game. And I don't know. I'm trying to come up with like a win case for the Broncos, but right now the morale is low. I don't know. Well, what are your thoughts on this one?
The guys, they're like, I feel like the trade deadline is kind of looming here. Sean Payton is being Sean Payton. This defense is playing, I mean, just historically bad. Like it's unfortunate, especially seeing what they went from last year to the way they're playing this year. It's rough. I don't have a good read on this game. I think that, it's easy to lean Green Bay. And I think also probably a little bit of your trauma is making you think that. I think that this is a game that maybe could even go over this total if it starts to get a little bit out of control. Russell Wilson, his stats have shown that look a lot better than what this team is, how they're performing on the field. His passing yards are set at, well, depends where you look at them. It's anywhere between like 214 to 220.5, which is a crazy like discrepancy between the two. So that 220.5, where do you lean on that?
I lean under, because Javonte Williams, I think will be. I mean, last week he was back, but I think he's full strength. McLaughlin, I think will get more touches, and then P Ryan, I think the 3-headed monster. I don't even know if you can call it a what's under a monster. I don't know.
The boogeyman. I don't know.
I feel like the boogeyman's above a monster. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe someone in chat can tell us. It's a solid group, but it's just like it's not scaring anyone. But I think the Broncos are just going to try to use them as much as possible.
Yeah.
And Marvin Mims is a dude who I think has all the talent in the world, and we don't want to use them. So I think they're just going to run the ball. And I think the only way that this goes over for Russ is if Broncos are down and they have to pass the ball. But I think they're just going to rely on the backs and try to do their thing there. So one thing I will say is on the Packers side, I think take a look at either Musgrave, Dobbs, or Jalen Reed. I think one of those, maybe even two of those three, will go over their number respectively because Watson will be probably guarded by Surtain. I don't want anything to do with that. I probably lean under there, but there's going to be opportunities for one of those guys to go over their receiving number. Maybe even Aaron Jones too out of the backfield. I think there's some pretty good low hanging fruit with one of those players.
For sure. I think Musgrave is a good look, especially the way that the Broncos have been against tight ends. I wanted to take a peek. I wanted to take a peek at what his receptions were at. That's probably the direction that I go. Even his yards, I think they were pretty low. It was something under 40 or right above.
It's like 34, 35, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any underdogs that you like this week before I let you get out of here?
Underdogs. Let's see here. I don't love okay. I guess here's one. I think the Chargers. The Chargers have played the Chiefs pretty well. Whether they win or lose, they seem to be pretty close games. And one thing I've learned betting the NFL over the years, and just even as like a fan before I was betting, it's always like these teams when everyone just kind of counts them out and decides that they're in a certain category.
Yeah.
Those are the teams that you actually want to bet on because the value kind of shows up out of nowhere. And the Chargers, I think at this point, they seem like one of those teams where it's like, oh, Herbert's overrated, Staley sucks, this and that.
Yeah.
And, the Chiefs are at home, and then we'll hear about the freaking Taylor Swift stuff eventually. Is she going to be at the game? Is she not? And that's going to be a whole thing. And then I think the Chargers could come in and play spoiler. That's sitting at plus 200. I like the value there.
That's a nice look. I think Herbert also, he has his finger is all banged up. Finger continues to get better. I think we saw him look very off target that last time that we saw him against Dallas. But let her know. Before I let you out of here, before I let my next guest in, Giants Commanders. Let me get a pick on that game.
Yeah, we almost didn't talk about this because I have a touchdown prop I like quite a bit, and then maybe you and Krabs can talk a little bit more about this one after you let it settle in your head for a bit. But as far as the side goes, I don't really know. You and Krabs can duke that one out.
Yeah,
I like Jalen Hyatt to score a touchdown.
Okay, I love it.
It's like cool. On PointsBet, I think it's 10-1 plus 1,000.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor was trying to get him the ball a little more. He's got so much talent at this point. Like the Giants, they offensively, like they don't have that just downfield playmaker that has been playing other than I think Jalen Hyatt. So yeah, give me him to get his first touchdown. I think that's a really good value at 10-1.
I love it. All right. Tell everyone where they can find you, and then I'll get you out of here. I appreciate you always.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to plug my YouTube, actually. We've been trying to grow that page up a little bit. Almost 3,000 followers on there. So just type in Capwise on YouTube. Shoot me a follow. We've been doing some fun like tailgating videos too before some of the college football and NFL games. So check out some of those videos. We have college football previews and stuff on the YouTube page. So I'll drop the link here in the chat. But yeah, I appreciate you having me, and I'm looking forward to what you guys have to say.
Arizona Colorado game, so I got to text you, and maybe we can link up a little bit there.
Say it again.
I'm going to the Arizona Colorado game.
Ooh.
So maybe we'll see.
Should we do some content?
We might have to. Yeah, I think.
Have you seen some of the videos I've done yet?
Yes, they have. They're very cool, especially.
They're fun. We might have to do something with we got to get Mush to come too. I'll be like, Mush, come out to Colorado. So.
Okay, we'll do it.
All
right. See ya. I'll let you get out of here.
Yep.
Let's
Bye-bye.
bring Krabs in. Krabs.
What is
at Krabs _bet with the Book It squad. He is also a Commanders. You call them the Commanders or still the Redskins?
I call them the Manders. Unfortunately, that is their name. So
not the commies. You don't go by commies.
I kind of do like the commies. I'm good with the commies. That's kind of like a way to make fun of ourselves, I guess, by calling ourselves that. But I feel like our play on the field probably does it enough at this point. So maybe we'll give them some respect and call them the Commanders today. But I don't know if they deserve it. I mean, both of our teams are absolutely terrible. And I think we can
love to not be in the NFC East. Like, wouldn't that be just lovely? Like, can we move out of the NFC East?
Any other division would be nice.
Would love it. It'd be great.
Yeah, give us a chance.
It would be something better than what we're doing right now.
I don't know who's going to be watching our game this weekend too intensely, to be honest with you. I wouldn't blame the people for skipping over that one unless they're watching Red Zone. It's going to be ugly. I think we could both agree that.
It's going to be rough. Before we talk about the game a little bit, any big takeaways from this NFL season?
Ooh, big takeaways from the NFL season. Right up, put me on the spot. I love this. Number one would be unders, especially in the prime time. I mean, since the beginning of last season, prime time unders have hit at 67%. So those continue to pay, and I'm going to continue to play those. And we've got one this Sunday night that I really like as well that I'm down to talk about if you need some plays. But that's definitely a big takeaway. I would say another takeaway from this season, I mean, don't bet on the Saints ever. Don't put your hard-earned coins or money on that team, no matter if they're a favorite or what their line is. Derek Carr is not a winning QB. I think we've all learned that last night and just over the last couple months. He is just not that guy.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Like I tweeted out yesterday, I swear and I said it already earlier, like people think Derek Carr is who they think that Kirk Cousins is Derek Carr, the way they complain about him.
Kirk is so much better than Derek.
I know, but that sucks. Exactly. It's such a shame that that people feel that way because Kirk is actually good and Carr is not at all.
Kirk gets no respect. He's never got respect since he was in DC. He never got respect, and I would take good money.
The ball there. You should have just He should have just stayed. I'm all for the Kirk back to the Commanders, despite being a Giants fan. Like I'm actually pro Kirk back to the Commanders.
I mean, he still has a soft spot in his heart for us too. I don't know if you watched Hard Knocks, but he's got his whole trophy case and his whole setup has half Commander stuff. I mean, we drafted him out of nowhere, one of the weirdest draft picks ever, right after RG3. And it worked out great, and it saved his career, right? Nobody else was going to take a shot at him, and he got to play, and he's grown in front of our eyes. Bring him back home. We need him. We'd love to have him back.
Great guy. Love Kirko. Yeah. So reason you're here, Washington versus my New York. I no longer say football Giants, just New York Giants. We don't add the football part until they play football. So I think Washington is 3-point favorites unless the lines move since I've been on the show. On the road, total is at 37.5. The total is all you need to know about how Vegas feels about these two teams. What's your initial read on this game?
Boring. I'd say if I could describe this game in one word, I would say boring. I mean, look, you've probably been following this team for, a good amount of time, just like me. And you know how these games go between our two squads, right? It doesn't matter how good or how bad the Commanders or Giants are. When they play, the game goes under. It sucks. It's low scoring. There's turnovers. The defenses shine out of nowhere. They turn into the greatest defenses of all time out of nowhere. That's just what they do. Yeah. And we're going to get that again today.
They tie. They even tie games.
Sometimes, yes. I mean,
you never know.
They're terrible. They got no closers on either of these two teams, I feel like. No closers. I like the momentum from your Giants, I will say. You guys didn't beat the Bills in that last game, but to be honest with you, I think you guys played better against the Bills than we played in our last game against the Falcons, which was a win, which might seem crazy, but we got lucky there. We're not playing great. Baheneme's still trying to figure out how to run this offense and spread the ball around all of our different weapons. He's lacking, feeding guys like Dotson. I don't even know if you want to go into Dotson or talk about him.
One of the notes that I have on here, this little show sheet, is where the fuck is Dotson? Like, what?
Where is he?
Where is he? I'm sick of it. It's actually getting annoying, but he plays well against the Giants historically. Not that it's very historic because it's been 2 years, but he ate last year against the New York Giants, 4 receptions, 105 yards and a touchdown. But I look more towards a Curtis Samuel this game.
100%. So Curtis Samuel has kind of taken over the Dotson role so far this season. I mean, we have new coaches. We got a new OC. It's not the same offense we ran with Turner last year where Dotson thrived in. And Dotson's talked about it in interviews. He's got to still figure out how he's got to get open and get the rock. He hasn't figured it out yet. And he's young. I'm not, hitting the panic button yet, but I'm getting close. Like, I'm looking at the panic button. If he doesn't do something this week against your Giants, I'm going to start freaking out. For sure.
And I feel like I've been trying to be patient because I drafted him everywhere like an idiot, and I feel very stupid for it. But I'm like, come on, like the week is going to come. It's going to happen at some point. But after this week, I can't do it anymore. He's got to go.
Yeah. If he can't perform against, that secondary up in New York, respectfully, I don't know what he's going to be able to do. And he did shine against you guys twice last season. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I don't hate Dotson's yards this week. All jokes aside, 34.5. He does have a good matchup. And I do think we're going to be losing this game. You probably didn't expect me to say that.
See, this is something more fun than this. We're both being so nice. This is not the way.
I know. This is too fun. But I'll be honest. I can't come up here and tell people to bet my managers this week. They're going to know that I'm speaking out of my ass and that I don't actually like it. If anything, I would say take the points with the G-Men, especially now that it's up to +3. Look, both our teams stink. Let's not kid ourselves. They do. They've got some work to do. But you guys have a significantly better coach. And I know Dable hasn't showed that yet this season, but he did a little bit in that last game. He did a little bit. And I take him over Ron with 3 points any day. Yeah. Any day. Are you kidding
Interesting.
me?
You said Ron. I'll ask you about it a little bit later. But Curtis Samuel, his receptions are at 3.5. Easy smash for me to go over that. +112. His secondary, like you said, 2 stinky secondaries, not the best secondary. Yeah. But he's gone over this like 4 weeks in a row. Howell is looking to him.
And Howell looks good. I have no qualms with Sam Howell whatsoever. And yes, him and Curtis have built a pretty good rapport, no doubt. Curtis has kind of taken Dotson's job. Plain and simple. He's kind of taken his spot out there on the fields. And until I see Dotson show up, I don't mind backing Curtis 1 bit. I don't think the odds makers have really adjusted to the volume and the targets that Curtis is getting yet because the guy's been so inconsistent the last 4 or 5 years. So I have no qualms with you locking in Curtis Samuel until the books start to correct and put that number more at like 4.5, or until Dotson shows up and starts growing up and playing football.
For sure. Yeah. Any other props that you looked at in this game? It's a gross game. I often do not bet the New York Giants or the Commanders, actually. Is there anything else that you saw this week that kind of caught your eye? Or it doesn't even have to be this game. If you have a lock that you really like, share it with us here. We can get off this game. It's kind of a shitty game. I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And to be honest with you, I've seen this movie before. We're going to fucking lose that game on the road, and all the hype and momentum from the last week is out the window. So I'm down to move on. I will say I do like B-Rob's yards. I don't mind. I thought they were a little bit high, and I do think he's going to dominate a little bit. Your guys' D-line is okay, but B-Rob is just different. He runs so angry, and I thought it was a little bit weird. I mean, you know how I bet lines and not teams. Seeing him at 61.5 against your guys' D-line, which is probably your bread and butter of that defense, I thought was a little high and telling. So I think B-Rob might break one this week. I like his 61.5 yards, but if we can pivot to, one of my favorite plays of the week and probably talk about that, it's got to be the Ravens against the Lions. And I know everyone loves the Lions, and I don't blame them. I mean, Jared Goff has respected coins for the last 2 years for sports bettors against the spread. He's been a beast. He's undefeated this year on the road, but let's not forget about how bad Jared Goff was on the road in his entire career before this season.
He's not a great road guy.
He's not a road guy. He likes playing in the dome, inside at home. I don't blame him. He's going to have to travel to Baltimore here in this spot. That's a tough place to play, especially after the Orioles just got eliminated. All that city has now is the Ravens. Those fans are going to be fucking lunatics this weekend, and they're going to be screaming, yapping with their team finally home now. They get to root them on. It's got to be the Ravens. I thought this would be closer to a pick 'em. Seeing the Ravens at -3 in the spot against the Wagon Lions, are you kidding me? It's got to be Baltimore. They win this game big.
Okay. I'm kind of buying in, and maybe it's Michigan. Like, I'm drinking the tap water living out here now. I'm kind of buying into the fact that I think people are a little bit too low on this team. It does feel like a good letdown spot for them as well. I've kind of stayed away from this game. Is there any other underdog you like this week outside of the Giants, like you said?
I like the Giants. I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Dobbs does what he's been doing this whole season. Love it. And that's overperform and cover. Take the 7.5 points. Give me the Cardinals. That's too many points against Seattle, who is one of the most overrated teams in football, in my opinion.
Yeah, I am with you on that before I let you get out of here. Best case scenario for the Commanders going into the draft or the end of the season even. Like what is the best case scenario? I'm under the impression that I think Ron Rivera gets fired at the end of the season's done, then he gets fired. The league respects Ron Rivera and they should. But I think that his time is coming to an end. But draft-wise, like what does this look like for you guys?
Yeah, so I'll give a hot take here. I don't think Ron will ever get fired from the Commanders. I think what they're going to do here is they're going to move him up to an executive position where he works for the front office, and his culture and him being a good guy and him being a leader will still be in this organization. And we need that because our organization is a bunch of scumbags. Okay. And we're trying to change that, but we need guys like Ron in there. But the problem is Ron can't call a game to save his life. This guy got carried by Cam Newton to a Super Bowl, and he's been riding those coattails his whole freaking coaching career. Ron's a great guy. Any player on the team will tell you they'll run through a brick wall for him, but he has no idea what he's doing or how to coach in 2023. But that's why we brought in Bieniemy. And what we're doing this season is we're coaching up Bieniemy. We're showing him the ropes. We got Del Rio at DC and Ron Rivera as our head coach, 2 seasoned vets who have both been head coaches for a very long time. So we're kind of grooming them up and getting them ready, and we can hand the keys over to Bieniemy as the head coach next season. Fingers crossed. Need to get Ron out of there, but still need him in the building. You know what I mean?
Fantastic take. Let everyone know where they can find you. Give me a final score for the Commanders-Giants game, and then you can get out of here.
Can I give you 3-0? Does that work in the Giants-Commanders game?
6-6.
3-0. Let's go 17-13. Giants win outright. I am in absolute shambles, and I'm questioning why I care about this team so much after the game. That's my prediction. You guys can find me down below at Krabs with a K _bets. If you need winners this weekend, I got you. I'm your guy.
Love it. Okay? All right. Thanks, Krabs. See you later.
Yeah, we'll do this again soon. I'll catch you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks.
See ya.
Hey.
Then we'll get producer Ryan on here, who has been away for some time. Have missed you. Hello, producer Ryan.
Hello. I am sorry I've been away, but I was getting my meditation retreat going on and hiking in Tahoe. So, but ready for the rest of the season now.
Okay, cool. Do you want to do my quadruple Ds first? Or?
Yeah, let's do your quadruple Ds. But isn't it quintuple Ds actually?
Quintuple.
Don't you have 5 bets?
Yeah, you're right. Quintuple Ds, my bad. It is indeed. So for everyone that has not seen this, I don't think I did it last week. Ryan wasn't here. Did I do it last week? I don't know. We're doing it this week.
Did you do it with Moonoff last week? I can't remember.
No, I didn't do it with Moonoff last week. So this is what it is. Every single week, going to do this from now on. The dad bet, the dud bet, the dumb fuck bet, the dog bet, and the double bet. Okay? You guys ready for this?
Let's do it. Let's do it. I can't wait.
Also, I apologize because one of these bets is obviously not in favor of your team, and then we'll get to it. Okay, bet of the week. Pretty straightforward. Isaiah Pacheco over 2.5 receptions, -103. 6 receptions last week. He's gone over this 3 times this season. I said this last week. Chargers super susceptible to these versatile running backs like Pacheco is. They gave up. I didn't even realize this watching the game. It didn't feel like this. Maybe it was, I don't know. I don't even think I was drinking during that game, but gave up 6 receptions for 80 fucking receiving yards last week to Pollard. So I think Pacheco in this spot, I would like the alt line. I wasn't able to find one. I would take that all the way up to 4, depending on what you would get it at. So that's going to be my dad bet. 2.5, way too low. 3 seems easy. Take it up to 4 or 5 if you want to.
I love that. Okay. Dad bet, Isaiah Pacheco over 2.5 receptions.
Yep. And then my dud bet is going to be another reception bet. This seems to be where I'm finding success this year. And I'm going to take the angle of the dud as far as what this rookie has done so far. So we're looking at JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigma, over 3.5 receptions. He's only gone over this twice this season, which, relates back to the dud piece of this. The targets are there. I think the Cardinals are the perfect place to have him have this little coming out party. And then the fantasy world can calm down about JSN here.
Oh, wait. So your dud bet, you're going to go over?
I am going over with the dud bet, but we're doing it as JSN has been a dud.
Oh, he's been a dud. Okay. All right. That's a
that
little
fair?
Confusing, but I get it now.
Okay. It's also me, so it doesn't totally, on brand.
All right, he's been a dud, but you like him in this game to
not
show
be a
the
dud.
Cardinals
This is a
what's
dud
up.
coming out here.
All right, great.
Stay with me here, Ryan. All right.
I'm with you. I'm with you now. I'm with you. Okay.
All right. Dumb fuck bet here. We're gonna go Darren Waller anytime touchdown at plus 440. There's only 2 players that have more targets without a touchdown than Waller. It's Evan Ingram, who everyone has seen me continue to bet on. He's obviously not getting into the end zone for some reason. And then Hopkins. He's been close. This feels like a good week against this Commanders defense. So I'm going dumb fuck bet, Darren Waller, anytime touchdown plus 440.
I mean, he needs to start scoring some touchdowns because preseason we bet him over 4.5 touchdowns for the season, right?
Yeah, I don't feel
that
great.
was one of your big bets. Yeah.
I'm not happy about it.
No, I'm not either because I also bet it.
Okay, dog bet. And Toby said, I don't love this bet. To be honest, is my probably least favorite. I'm going to go Steelers plus 3. Sean McVay is expecting a baby soon. He's going to be a little distracted. Steelers off a bye. Deontay Johnson back. I think Steelers defense can keep this one close. So I like them to cover the 3.
I like that. Okay.
And the
Steelers
double
plus
bet.
3. That's your dog. And now for your double D bet, right? Double touchdown bet.
Mm-hmm. For the double bet. Once again, I apologize. It is coming against your Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah, so 2 of the bets are against your team, which, welcome back, Ryan, betting against your team. So Kenneth Walker, this number is this is low. I normally will never take a 2 touchdown bet when it's this low. It's plus 350. He scored 6 touchdowns this year. He's also had 2 games where he's already had 2 touchdowns. He scored at least 1 in 4 straight. I think Arizona, they don't like to show up in the second half. So I think there's an opportunity for Kenneth Walker to get into the end zone twice.
Well, you know what? I'm not that mad about it because I have Kenneth Walker in fantasy in one of my teams. So I'm going to be rooting for him to score 2 touchdowns also, even though it's against my Cardinals.
That's all right. No one needs to.
All right, recap those real fast for everybody.
We will recap them. All right, dad bet. Isaiah Pacheco over 2.5 receptions. Dud. JSN over 3.5 receptions. Dumb fuck. Darren Waller anytime touchdown. I'm laughing. Can't even be serious saying it out loud. Dog bet. Steelers plus 3. Double bet. Kenneth Walker 2 touchdowns.
Nice. Love that. And before I let you get out of here, are you aware that the NBA season is starting next week?
I am aware, and we will be having some NBA discussions on the show for everyone.
We are. Okay.
We are.
Are you rooting for the Suns? Are you rooting for the Suns this year? Have you decided?
I haven't decided yet. I was wearing my Sun shirt before I put my leather. It's Leather Fridays moving forward also. Before I put my leather shirt on. I don't know yet. I root for Kevin Durant always. We will see how the Brooklyn Nets start before I'm going to go and start rooting for them. We won't be betting on them, that's for sure.
All right. Sounds good. All right. We'll be back next week. Same time, same channel. Please like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to our channel. We've been doing well. So thank you all for our smallsies out there who are supporting us.
Smallsies for Swifties. See you guys.
Yeah. Bye.
Watch him make it, break it, break it, break it.